In Attack of the Clones, Anakin Skywalker takes his first real step into the dark side of the Force after discovering his mother, Shmi Skywalker, has been kidnapped and tortured by Tusken Raiders for over a month. After tracking down the party of Tuskens and holding his mother as she dies, he is filled with a rage and a power he has never experienced beforehand. In this moment of failure, Anakin relived his promise as a young boy to return to the desert planet and rescue his mother, and as she died in his arms, he realized that dream he experienced as a young child would never become a reality. For a moment, Anakin accepted his anger, his absolute all-encompassing hatred for the Tuskens, filling his spirit, and he slaughtered them, the men, the women, and the children. Even the spirit of Qui-Gon Jinn calling to Anakin for a brief moment was not enough to stay the young boy's hand, as he lost all mercy for the Tusken Raiders. But there may be more here than originally meets the eye, for some time before venturing home, Anakin experienced visions of his mother being tortured, and during sleepless nights thinking of her. "You were dreaming about your mother earlier, weren't you?" Anakin looked away. "Yes, I left Tatooine so long ago. My memory of her is fading. I don't want to lose it. And lately, I've been seeing her in my dreams. Vivid dreams. Scary dreams." His voice became lower and softer. "I worry about her." As time progressed, these dreams turned into nightmares as Anakin began to experience what his mother was feeling, commenting to Padme. Anakin opened his eyes and looked at her, and she could see in them all the torment he was feeling. "I saw my mother. I saw her as clearly as I see you now." He swallowed hard. "She's suffering, Padme. They're killing her. She is in pain." While it is possible the kidnapping of Shmi Skywalker was a coincidence and perhaps the Force testing Anakin and his position in the light side of the Force, I find the events far too circumstantial. In the novelization for Attack of the Clones, it is explained that young Tuskens sometimes will kidnap creatures and torture them, testing their future enemies. The longer the victim lasts, the more powerful the Tuskens believe they become, as they thrive off of it. The Tuskens even believe that if one is tortured long or intensely enough, they can summon spirits, or rather demons, that will grant them great power. It is my theory that Palpatine orchestrated the kidnapping of Shmi Skywalker, and that they took her with the promise of great power. I believe Palpatine in some way informed them Shmi was strong, and that she would last a long while during her torture, promising them a spirit would in fact find them. And in truth, this is correct, as the spirit of Anakin Skywalker appeared to them in the form of a demon, but instead of granting them power, he killed them all. Torture has always been a great weapon of the Sith. In some cases, individuals have been even tortured to the dark side of the Force, as pain is an emotion closely intertwined with it. In Legends continuity, the Sith Darth Malak tortured the Jedi Knight Bastila Shan until she embraced the dark side of the Force, and Darth Sion and even Darth Vader used their immense pain as their greatest weapon in the dark side. But torture was not always used directly by the Sith. Even in the original trilogy, we saw Darth Vader torture Han Solo in an attempt to give Luke visions of his friends in peril so that he would draw the young boy out, which did in fact work. I believe the same tactic was unknowingly to him used on Anakin years ago, with Palpatine persuading the Tuskens to take Shmi, knowing Anakin would feel her pain and seek her out, eventually finding her in a state that would shock and haunt him for the rest of his life. This quote from Shmi Skywalker comes from the Attack of the Clones novelization. Annie was her comfort, her place to hide from the pain the Tuskens had, and were exacting upon her battered body. Every day they came in and tortured her a bit more, prodding her with sharp spears, or beating her with the blunt shafts and short whips. It was more than a desire to inflict pain, Shmi realized, though she didn't speak their croaking language. I also find it too big a coincidence she actually draws her last breath just as Anakin finds her. I again believe Palpatine can be blamed for this, as we do know Palpatine is able to use the dark side of the Force to prolong one's life. Palpatine would even use this on Anakin himself years later, as he willed his new apprentice to live after his encounter and defeat with Obi-Wan Kenobi on Mustafar. I believe Palpatine wanted Anakin to see this, and that he had planned it all beforehand. Before Palpatine had even suggested Anakin be assigned to protect Padme as a true test, as he was the finest Padawan the Jedi had to offer at the time. First, Palpatine briefly separated Anakin from the Jedi Order, and as he began falling in love with Padme and being pulled farther away from the path of the Jedi, Palpatine dropped a bomb on him at his most vulnerable. We do know that later, Anakin told Palpatine about his horrible act against the Tuskens, and that the Sith would use it against him in a strange way, attempting to comfort Anakin after beheading Dooku. In one of the first scripts for Revenge of the Sith, it was intended to be a reveal Palpatine had orchestrated her death, and that he was going to explain to Anakin he was the source of his power, explaining that he knew he had experienced the true potential of the Force on that day on Tatooine. But this was ultimately scrapped. However, I do find this to be pretty good evidence to back up the theory, as it proves it was at one point in the filmmaker's mind, and all the circumstances and evidence seems to support it. So I would love to hear what you think. Do you think that this is all circumstantial, or do you think that Palpatine actually orchestrated her kidnapping? Also, which version do you like? Do you like that Palpatine may have been behind this, or do you prefer that the Tuskens just took her on their own? Leave all your thoughts below, interested to hear the consensus on this video. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't yet, maybe consider subscribing to ensure you stay up to date with everything Star Wars related. If you would like to speak to me directly and ask questions, my Twitter is at StupendousWave. Anyway, thank you again for watching, may the Force be with you, and have a great day.